Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Wyrock, and in today's episode, we're asking the question, will your lie find you out? Now, this is prompted by an article I read on CNN's website by Andrew Kaczynski and M. Steck, looking at Michigan Democratic Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed's recent claims that he never, quoting, never called for defunding the police. What Kaczynski and Steck discovered is that's patently false. And multiple times in interviews going back as far as 2020, Abdul El-Sayed explicitly stated, we need to defund the police. He was a big part of the defunding the police movement, arguing that the police are part of the problem, that tax money would be better spent on public health, education, housing, mental health, anti-poverty programs, saying that the substance of the defund movement was that police were not the right answer to many of the questions they have been the answer to in the past. When he has been called now out on that inconsistency, saying now he never called for defunding the police when people have said, no, you did. His campaign said, and I quote, his view has become more nuanced. Nuanced is a great way of saying, oops, turns out he lied. Listen, I don't have a problem with a politician saying over the last few years, I have re-examined that position and I've changed my mind. That's totally acceptable. In fact, that might even be an indication of humility, of the kind of character you need to lead. But that's not what he's saying. He's not saying I've come around on this issue. I've changed my mind. I've evolved. He's saying I didn't say it, when in fact he did. Of course, you know the problem here, right, is that 4 or 5 years ago, it was wildly popular online and social media and moving left in the political circle. It was popular to defund the police. That was all the rage. And so when it was popular, Abdul El-Sayed, he promoted that view. Now it isn't that popular, and now he doesn't. That duplicitousness is not lost on us. We get it. That's what politicians do. You know, it's interesting. I don't want this episode to be about El-Sayed or about politics. I want it to be about lying and the fact that eventually lies come undone, especially in the era of social media. You know, the writer of Proverbs 12:19 said this, truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment. In other words, if you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about being found out. But if you lie, you'll only get away with it for a little while. You know, the truth is, all of us need to hear this because deception, hyperbole, exaggeration, lying are things that most of us dabble in from time to time. You know, I always tell my kids that lying is a form of functional atheism. I want you to think about this with me. And I don't mean that I'm not guilty of it. I've done it. You've done it. But here's what I mean. Lying is the idea that I can fool you and therefore get away with it. If a police officer pulls me over and says, why were you speeding? And I say, I'm a pastor, I'm on my way. I've never done this, by the way. I'm a pastor, I'm on my way to the hospital, and I get out of a ticket and he lets me go. I lied because I believed if I could deceive that cop, I could, quote unquote, get away with it. Of course, the problem with that is that the Bible tells me there's a God who sees and knows. He knows every lie. You can't fool him, you can't deceive him, and you can't get away with it. That's why when we lie, we're acting as functional atheists. We're saying, if I can fool you, then I've gotten away with it. That's what I tell my kids. You can fool mom and dad, but one day you're going to stand before a God who made you, who will judge you, and you can't fool him. Listen, some of us need to hear this because we're living in a world of our own creation of lies. We've told them enough times in enough ways, and they're going to unravel. So I just want to encourage you that today is the day of repentance. Today is the day to say, you know what, I made that up. I exaggerated. I stretched that. I lied. Because if you come clean today, restoration and reconciliation are much easier. If you come clean today, it's an act of worship before God. If when you're caught, you call yourself, quote unquote, nuanced, restoration, reconciliation, and trust get a lot more difficult. Lies have a way of finding themselves out. On the judgment day, when we all stand before God, all lies will find themselves out. So today, admit it, take ownership of it, seek forgiveness for it, and move towards a life without any lies in it. Because not only will that be honoring to God and loving to your neighbor, but you'll find yourself a lot freer as well. Hey, thanks for checking out Wake Up, Look Up. For more content, be sure to visit the Christ Community Chapel app or website, ccchapel.com.